communication open between us, and I very much thank her for that. Please welcome our Treasurer, Teresa Donnelly.
Hello, everyone. I do wish that, Bill, you would have had a plenary in person and that I was with you. I'm sure everybody feels that way. I start my comments today by acknowledging the land that I am on. I am speaking to you from Osgoode Hall in Toronto. Toronto is a Mohawk word that means where there are trees standing in the water. It is located on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. I recognize the long history of all First Nations in Ontario and the Inuit and Métis peoples. Today, we have speakers and those at the plenary who are observing this plenary from all across the province and across many First Nations territories. We thank all Indigenous peoples who lived and live in these lands for sharing them with us in peace. I am really honored to be here to speak to you. I want to start, I'm going to talk to you about a couple things. One of them is the conversations that you're having on EDI. You will hear when I wrap up about the relationship that Bill and I have enjoyed through his time as the head of FOLA and my time as treasurer. And one of the themes that we talked about fairly often, apart from libraries and funding, which we talked about all the time, but another theme that we talked about was about equality, diversity, and inclusion, and its importance to legal professionals, its importance to everyone in every law association across the province, because ultimately our jobs are to serve the public, and we need a diverse legal profession to address the diverse needs of the diverse people in our society. And the Supreme Court of Canada has told us that a diverse legal profession facilitates access to justice and protects the public interest. So things that are really at the core of what we do at the Law Society and who we are as legal professionals. We as legal professionals have a really important role in fighting racism and discrimination. And when I think about our job as legal professionals and I think about the justice system, I always go back to what Chief Justice Strathy said in the opening of the courts in 2020. And I'm just going to give you briefly part of what he said. And if you haven't read it or listened to it, go back to it because it is so powerful. He said, in Canada, the promise of a just society made 50 years ago has yet to be realized, particularly for many members of Indigenous, Black, and racialized communities, the homeless, and the impoverished. Can we truly say that we have embraced reconciliation with our Indigenous communities, or that we have done the utmost to repair the consequences of discrimination, isolation, and abuse of Indigenous, Black, and racialized peoples? Or that members of Black, Indigenous, and racialized communities are respected and equally important, see themselves as full and equally respected members of our society? Will this horrendous global pandemic teach us anything about the commonality of human suffering, the humanity and dignity of all peoples, and what it means to share this planet with others? And I just think that quote sets off, it's just so informative of where we are. And I say to you, can we truly say that we've fulfilled the questions that Chief Justice Strathy has asked? And I say not. And the conversations that you are having today at FOLA are so important to building a stronger and more vibrant justice system. Racism and discrimination undermine the rule of law. They undermine justice. So I'm just so pleased to see FOLA engaged in these conversations. The panels and the topics look outstanding. I'm happy to know this is being recorded because I'm not sure that I can be available to see all of the conference today, but I'm looking forward to going back and listening to those panels if I'm not able to be here in person. So I just start by saying that, and I'm going to move on now and talk to you about money. Bill, you were so powerful and so eloquent in what you said. And I think there's some things that I want to flag for you as well. For the third year in a row, there was a decrease in annual fees. Lawyers saw a decrease of $60, paralegals $9. We also this year reduced licensing fees for lawyer and paralegal candidates, $300 for lawyer candidates and $100 for paralegal candidates effective May 1st. We approved a LEARN budget of $8.542 million. We reinstated the 10% reduction that was for FOLA. There was an increase of an additional 2%. We included some funding that LEARN had requested with respect to staffing. And we approved a transition budget of up to an additional $900,000. I will tell you though, if you go back and you look at the votes, that was not a unanimous not a unanimous vote in approving that budget. So what do I want to talk to you about today? Bill has told you, and he's right, I'm a huge advocate of law libraries. If you go back to before I was the treasurer, you'll see that I've been talking about this in my time as a bencher. I'm a huge supporter of law libraries. I understand what you do. As Bill said, I'm a proud member of the Huron Law Association. I'm also now a proud member of the Toronto Lawyers Association. So they're really important to me. I can't say that that interest is shared across the board, of which I'm the treasurer. So what I want to tell you is I get it. I understand how it's tied to competence, to access to justice, and to mental health. I read your white paper. It's exactly what I think in terms of the importance of your associations. So what issues do I see? I think Bill's flagged them. We saw last year a motion brought to reduce fees by 25%. This motion was brought by benchers, and it then resulted in a email campaign called Defund the LSO. I know that FOLA did not support the movement or the motion. And last month at convocation, we had a last minute motion. So this, if you go back to our convocation, you'll see there was another motion. This time we had a budget prepared. We had a budget prepared that related to giving back money to LEARN, and we had our budget prepared, and we got a motion to reduce further 10%. Send this back to the Audit and Finance Committee to reduce fees again 10%. And they said to look at focusing on, staff jobs first. Well, the reality is, if you cut things, if you want a 10% cut, that money has to come from somewhere. So that means cutting programs. So what do? Do we cut our competency-based, our professional development and competence division? Do we cut the professional regulation division, which deals with complaints when we're a public interest regulator? Do we cut money where there's $8.5 million that we give to another organization? So the motions are concerning on a number of levels. But what I want to say to you is, we're coming into an election year. This pressure on the Law Society budget is going to continue because people are going to want to get reelected. So I just flag for you that while the mantra of, cutting fees is attractive, be careful for what you wish or for what you support, because we can see what happens. Last year, there was a 10% reduction in library funding. And I know the pain that caused for local associations and for the members of local associations, which then gets passed on to the members of the public. Bill has also addressed this issue where we're starting to see pressure to shift the cost of the funding of law libraries from the Law Society to the Law Foundation. Again, it sounds attractive, but as Bill has said, their revenue is fluctuating. So Bill has gone over the numbers. I won't do that, but what I will say is we've seen the negative impact on legal aid that the lack of sustainable funding has done for legal aid, because there's a heavy reliance by the federal and provincial governments on the Law Foundation funding to support the legal aid program. The only other thing I'm going to say about legal aid is I think there's a huge issue with the funding of legal aid that's coming, and something that we at the Law Society and all of you need to be alert to, because it really impacts on access to justice. So that is something that I'm very, very worried about. I'm going to just say to you, each of you and your law associations, thank you. Thank you for the outreach that you did in writing the letters and in educating people in your white paper, in your phone calls, in your letters about the important work that you do in lawyer competence, in access to justice, and supporting the mental health and well-being of legal practitioners. I think, and I know you have Learn coming, I think that you can expect for local law association libraries to be asked about access by the public to your libraries and about paralegals access to the libraries. So I flag those as things to be thinking about as you go forward. Bill has said that you are working on the competence task force call for comment. That's fantastic. I'm really excited about that because there have been articles written. One of our benchers has written articles to say get rid of continuing professional development. So, and what the competence task force is looking at is it's looking at these programs. Should we keep CPD? Should we change it? Should we keep the coach and advisor network? Should we change it? Should we keep the certified specialist program? Should we change it? These are things that we need input from you. We need to know what's important, what works, and what supports lawyer and paralegal competence across the province. And we're concerned about lifelong competence. So your feedback is really important to us. I expect that maybe some of the bigger law associations may also submit something, but I really encourage you to do that because we need to hear from you. We're coming up to the end of the year, and CPD is always a concern of members getting their CPD hours. You know that one of those hours also includes EDI. So what I want to tell you is we have lots of opportunity as legal professionals to get our CPD hours. And as you know from your own associations, but also the Law Society has lots of opportunities. And I want to flag, and I think what I'll do, Katie, at the end is send you an email, and perhaps the email can be circulated to each of you as the presidents, setting out places where from the Law Society, there's access to free resources. We have something called CPD Assists in the Law Society store that has free accredited CPD programs. We run an equity legal education series that has archived programs on the website. We ran the Mental Health Summit last year, which was a free offering, 8 hours accredited for EDI. So lots of resources, lots of ways to get CPD and on really important topics that your members should be thinking about. So I'll send that off. I'm going to put in my usual plug for the awards. We know that one of your members, Eldon, won an award last year. Congratulations! But the bestowing of those awards only occurs if you're nominating the deserving people who are in your community. I'm an outside Toronto treasurer. You're important to me, and I know the very important work that you are doing across the province. But let's celebrate it. Nominate someone. It takes a fair bit of work. You have just under a month left because the nominations close on December 17th. But please do it. It's really important, and it showcases for all of us the work that's being done, and it sets role models and it inspires us to do better in our work. I'm going to touch on a couple other things quickly. We launched last year the Technology Task Force pilot project, which is now being branded as Access to Innovation. That relates to innovative technological legal services. More coming on that. We have a round table that FOLA is a member of. We have an advisory board, and so I urge you to check that out to learn more about that project. What's coming up? We have the Family Legal Services Provider license that FOLA provided submissions on with respect to our call for comment. I expect that to come to convocation in the spring, and that we will be releasing, that we will be releasing that report in advance to give people opportunity to review it. We're still looking at articling enhancements that were we originally started to deal with in 2018. So I expect they'll come back. And I'm going to wrap up with two last things. I've really made I'm really made, I was going to say an effort, but it's not an effort because it's really a pleasure to reach out to the local associations and to meet people. So I've had dinner with Jennifer in Windsor. I've had lunch with Bill and the former head of the Middlesex Law Association in London. I've had lunch with Catherine in Barrie. And I've had lunch with Michael in Toronto, and I've attended virtually other associations. These connections are really important to me. So when I clicked on today and I saw everybody's face pop up in the box, it's so exciting to see people because that's how we're seeing and meeting each other now. So what I would say to you is, invite me to come out. I went to the Hamilton Law Association's annual general meeting remotely, but reach out. If I can come in person, I'll come. If I can't, I'll come this way. But it's really important to build the relationship between your members and the Law Society, and that your members understand the work that we do. I have a 1-hour CPD accredited presentation that's free. I'm happy to come out and to do that presentation. So reach out, send me an email, treasurer@lso.ca, and I'm happy to come. I wrap up by saying, Bill, it's been a great time working with you. We've known each other for 30 years. We are colleagues and we're friends, and you have been a great support for me as I undertake this challenging role as treasurer. I'm very thankful for our regular telephone calls and texts, including our telephone call at 8 o'clock this morning, just to connect before your last plenary. It's been a really great, positive, and constructive relationship. I'm very thankful to have had that opportunity. I know that you're not leaving, because I've already said you can't leave me. I know you're not leaving and that you'll stay on as the past president. Nathan, I'm really looking forward to connecting and building our relationship as we confront the challenges in the legal professions that we will be confronting for the next till June. That's how long I'm the treasurer for, but over the course of your term as well. I'm done. My time is up. Thank you so much for allowing me this time to speak, and I look forward to hearing the rest of the conference.
Thank you, Treasurer, for those kind words.